Hi, this is George Alger. Welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today we're going to be speaking about understanding our environment through geographic technology. And joining us to speak about that are Steve and Mary, and they're going to give us some brief introductions. Let's start with you, Steve. Can you briefly tell us about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Steve Palladino. I've been a long-term full-time instructor over here at Ventura College in Geography and Geographic Information Systems, which I'll tell you about in a second.
Very good. Mary.
I'm Mary Cook Hurley, and I'm a geographer, and I've been doing mapping and remote sensing for over 30 years, and continue to do it today.
Very good. So I understand you're both involved with CIRGIS. So let's get a little bit of understanding about that. What is CIRGIS?
Yeah, so CIRGIS is a regional collaborative of professionals and interested parties who are working with data about the Earth. And I'll be more specific. So it stands for the Channel Islands Regional GIS Collaborative. So Ventura County is very much involved, but Santa Barbara County and a little beyond. Now, GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems, and that's a core technology that you're all very familiar with because you navigate. Anytime you use the navigation system in your car, on your phone, the underlying technology, you take it for granted, but the underlying technology is GIS, Geographic Information Systems, a bunch of information tied to map that lets us solve problems. Now, a bigger umbrella, and Mary will talk about how we're involved with that, is Geospatial Technologies. That's the actual GPS, tells you where you are, remote sensing, and some other things. We're doing flying drones to look down at the Earth. And you're familiar with this, everything from fighting fires. We map the fires, it's hugely important. We all went through the Thomas Fire a few years ago. We look at social services, where are they, where are the homeless, when we put them, anything that we can nail down to the Earth, when we can put on a map, we can put in a computer and try to solve problems.
Very good. You want to add something to that, Mary?
Well, it's so broad, but it does benefit a lot of different industries, and as well as the government in our county of Ventura. So from conservation to emergency response, it's been highly valuable.
Good. Now, okay, so I got that there's a lot of different aspects to this, but I think at least the first thing that comes to my mind is satellite. So is that part of this system?
It is. Satellite is part of it. There's many different ways to collect the data. So behind all this geographical information systems is a wide range of data collection. And that could come from satellites, that comes from aircraft, it comes from drones. You're constantly and ground-based, ground level acquisitions that people see, sometimes cars with cameras on top driving up and down roads. So there's multiple ways to collect this data and information. That's all part of it. It's a big industry.
Now, my understanding of the satellites is that it's constantly recording data, but from Steve, what you were mentioning earlier regarding the Thomas Fire, so there's probably drones going up that are pertinent to the fire itself. So it's collecting very specific data that's incident based. Would that be correct?
Yes. So we have, visual data, as Mary referred to. So the drones go up now, often with an infrared sensor, but there's also ground-based data where you're talking to the crews that are out on the line. What's going on? Post-incident, where were homes that have burned, not burned? This is maybe somebody from the county goes out, collects the data, or like I was referencing homelessness. Up in Santa Barbara, they're going to do a big homeless count, I think this Saturday, and they go all over with a crew of people, volunteers, to find out who are the people in need. So the data we're collecting is not just imagery, though that's a big part of it, because we're used to turning on satellite on our mapping program, but it's also the data we collect about people, about places, about plants, about changes in the environment. It's very broad, as Mary said.
Right,
Okay.
the demographic data. I would say demographics. So everything about our communities, everything is tracked and traced nowadays, so that that's the demographic data that's taken in, and that's a very important part of it.
And Mary, you had also mentioned emergency services. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, part of the initial reasons for the evolution of starting the CIRGIS was a common operating picture in Ventura County, from the county of Ventura to all of our cities to water districts, and on different regional governments. We needed some sort of a map across our county that gave a better operating picture. For emergency response, it's imperative. We saw the need for fires, for not only tracking the fires, but evacuation purposes, to monitor, to see what the next threats could be, but also from the perspective of a health issue of calling E911, and then people need to get paramedics. The addressing sometimes can be a problem. So you call and they may not necessarily be able to find your location, but it's been invaluable in police, sheriff, fire, all those across the board are utilizing GIS technology constantly. And it's all installed into their vehicles, and it just makes it for a safer. It saves lives and property when we have all of that up to date.
Very good. Steve, would you say that anything that has to do with geographical data and particularly pertaining to technology is going to be somehow touched by CIRGIS?
Yeah, so just to give you a little quick history, CIRGIS was in the 1990s, all these technologies were new. We were very bad at sharing data, as Mary just talked about how important that is. And so there were groups that were starting to meet. UCSB had a research center. There were people at the county government here in Ventura, and they got together. One of the sort of impetus individuals was a dean here at the college, the one that hired me, Bob Renger, and one of the county directors, Lynn Cotta, got together, and we decided we would create this organization to help with data sharing and training and sort of just giving each other that support we needed to create these tools. That was the 1990s, end of the 1990s. And so beginning in the new millennia and the new century, we began this organization. So it's been over 20 years now. And we have, sort of quarterly meetings. The period of time is changing. We have one big conference we have every year. We call it GIS Day. And a lot of the early projects were some training and a little bit of trying individual data sharing. We didn't have the cloud. So we got a grant and got a server farm, and we were trying to get the data out to everybody. But then we've morphed into a bigger project, which Mary can talk about, that's been very beneficial, our imagery.
Right. We as we formed and became a nonprofit at CIRGIS, one of the beginning stages is in 1998. I was working for a company that was able to take and get a flyover of Ventura County and collect aerial imagery and then put that together in a GIS system, and so that all of that imagery was tied to the ground with GPS locations and survey data, and it became a seamless map. And that was our common operating picture. And there was a big collaboration of multiple agencies and entities, and it was very successful. And from there, it became a yearly project, and it's been consistent. And in 2006, CIRGIS became the collaboration group to maintain that imagery base layer. And with Santa Barbara County, we did a flyover every 2 years, and we continue every 2 years to do an acquisition of imagery across Ventura and Santa Barbara County and the Channel Islands National Park Service. So we continue to expand on that. Now we have change detection that we can go back over the decades and look at things, how things change, and things are always evolving and changing on the landscape. And it's very important. So this year in 2022, we are right now working on putting together our next acquisition of imagery across Ventura County. And we also will be doing some LiDAR. And so we have accurate elevation information as well as accurate imagery.
Very good. Obviously, as you already have alluded to, there is so much this pertains to, but we're just about out of time here. So, could we get a website that viewers could go to for more information? And if you have a brief summating message you'd like to convey to the viewers.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. The website is www.cirgis.org. And then just what Mary was referring to, that image we've collected, when you go into Google Maps or Google Earth, some of that now appears there. So you're looking at data we collected, so there's better data for us. And yeah, just so much that we're doing, and you're always invited to come be involved, especially in our GIS day. Mary?
Yeah, I really encourage people to come out and find out about CIRGIS and our GIS day at Ventura College. It's very informative. There's always something interesting. We have people speak on different topics, from conservation to emergency response to even things like sea level rise.
Right.
So, and how that might impact our county at some point.
Yeah, it's usually the third Friday in November. So that's when you can start looking.
Very good. All right. Well, Mary and Steve, thank you very much. We have to wrap things up right now.
Thank you.
This is George ALGER signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV, until we meet again.